1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in they Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move. Whatever click you choose, you better stay.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories. I'm going to drop one on y'all today. If you happen to like the story, definitely be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. Most importantly, hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP, and you can hop right on it. Also, y'all, I rap. Do not get it twisted. The flow is nothing like Curtis Blow. I got a song called Never Gave Me Therapy. It's on all major streaming sites. Also, you can go to my YouTube playlist, scroll down to gas stations, and you will find a lot of my songs there. Now, let's hop right up into this story. Now, this story right here takes place in 1998 on a level 3 prison known as Ironwood. Now, Ironwood is located in a city known as Blythe. Blythe is maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere around there away from Arizona. And it gets extremely hot down there in the summertime. So I'm coming from a level 4. I'm coming from Salinas Valley, and my points had dropped down. And I believe I left somewhere around in the end of May or somewhere around there. I remember when I left, the playoffs had just started because I was watching, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, right? And so when I get to Ironwood, I eventually get sent to A-Yard. Now, Ironwood is in the city of Blythe and in the county of Riverside, which is one of the main reasons that I wanted to get down to Ironwood, because it was the closest level 3, the closest within proximity of my area, which I grew up in, and so it was maybe about 2 hours away, and so it would make it easier for my family to be able to come visit me. So like I said, Ironwood is in the city of Blythe in the county of Riverside, which is the Inland Empire. So you also had a lot of dudes from San Bernardino and Riverside down there as well. So when I got to A-Yard, we had a lot of homies on that yard. Some of the homies, if I can remember, we had Pollock, we had the homie JJ, who is Jesse Johnson, not to be confused with the other homie JJ Johnny Jones. We had Snow, also known as Big Walter Macon. We had the homie Melly Mel, or sometimes they call him Metley, from California Gardens. We had the homie J.O. from the Projects. Slaughter was from Reno Valley. Big John Harris was from San Bernardino. William Carter. And then two of my homies, Chester and my homie Biscuit, who I grew up next door to, two doors away, right? And so when I initially get there, the first day or two, I'm on A-Yard. I'm walking around the yard. I don't really know nobody. I'm on the track. Then I happen to see the homie Biscuit. Then, so I go to talking to Biscuit. I look back, I see Chester. Now, Chester is about 10 or 15 years older than me. So I said, hey, ain't he from Bannon too? He like, yeah, that's the homie Chester. So we started talking. Eventually Chester walked me around and started introducing me to the homies who was from the Inland Empire. We had a lot of homies there. That was a real good car there, right? And so one of the homies who I end up, and also did I mention we had a homie by the name of Rock. Rock was my cellie at one time from Paris, Did I say we had a homie Slaughter? It was a homie named Red. It was a lot of homies. I can't remember everybody, but it was a lot of them there, right? And so we also had a homie by the name of Cornflake. Cornflake happened to be a white Crip who was from a hood known as Rialto 5 times, right? Now, initially, Cornflake was going by the name of Youngster. But the homie Melly is the one who changed his name. It was like, no, you know what? You don't really look like no youngster. And so Melly has started calling him Cornflake. You know, Melly used to always be, you know, joking with him, clowning with him a little bit. You know how homies just, you know, popping with each other or whatever. Now, back in that time, too, you had a lot of white Crips who had names, for whatever reason, that put emphasis on the fact that they were white. You know, you had names like possibly Ghost, you know, Casper. Of course, there's the famous Snow Rock, you know, and stuff like that. And so that is one of the main reasons that Melly changed his name and started calling him Cornflake. Now, Cornflake was maybe about 5'9", maybe about 180, 185, kind of pudgy. He didn't work out too much, you know, and just a cool dude, though. You know, I'd met him a couple times, and we hollered and chopped it up. So now, never in my presence, right? Because like I said, Cornflake happened to be on the yard several months before I got down there. But I'm sure somebody had, you know, basically gave him some game and some information on, you know, even though the white population right now is not necessarily tripping on you being on the yard, running with the blacks, being in the cell with somebody black, you definitely have to stay on your P's and Q's, because at any moment, somebody could hit the yard with a little rank or authority or whatever and change the dynamics and the attitudes of the white convicts on that yard, right? Case in point, when I first got to Salinas Valley in 1996, the prison had just opened up. They were sending in a whole lot of people from other prisons and from reception center, which is where you go when you leave the county jail, and they send you to the reception center to get diagnosed, analyzed, and they're going to figure out exactly what type of security housing that you need, right? But the blacks and the southern Mexicans were playing basketball together. We were playing full court basketball, integrated teams, and we were in a tournament at one point in time. I specifically remember this because I too myself was out there playing. So not much long after that, I guess somebody must have came in from somewhere, you know, who had a little say so within their organization. Was like, hey, what's going on? You guys out there playing, you know, basketball with the blacks? Yeah, that's we don't get down like that. That's something that's not going to be allowed, and so, you know, we got to stop that. So so I've definitely seen it happen, right, where somebody will hit the yard and change the whole dynamics. And so I'm pretty sure that's what somebody had told also Cornflake, you know, to always stay on your P's and Q's, always take your safety seriously, because you never know one day when you know, some white convicts may not like the fact that you're doing time with blacks and try to harm you. And so eventually that's just exactly what ended up happening now. So I don't know if it was 2 or 3 dudes who came to the yard, but somebody hit the yard who was a Nazi lowrider. And upon realizing that this white dude was running with the blacks, he became upset. I believe when you have organizations who are upset because either there's a Crip from their race running with the blacks or a Blood from their race running with the blacks, the main reason I believe they were upset, or at least back in those times, is because they considered these dudes as race traitors. Now let's say you have a white Crip, of course, who's running with the blacks, hanging with the blacks, programming with the blacks, in the cell with a black. In the event a riot jumps off with the whites, then you have this white Crip on the side of the blacks participating to harm, hurt, and potentially even kill other white people. And so, of course, you know, the whites see that as offensive. They see that as, this dude is a race traitor. You know what I'm saying? And so that's pretty much the ideology on harming somebody like that. Now, we got to keep in mind, too, also, the Nazi lowriders, at that time at least, had a specific policy that was in their bylaws or whatever. They couldn't program and be on the yard with any whites who were hanging with the blacks. So they was pretty much bound by their organization rules to assault, take off, harm, or whatever. They could not be on the yard with a white Crip or a white Blood, so on and so forth, right? And so now the homie Cornflake was working in he was working in what's known as Work Exchange. And what Work Exchange is, they got this track, this big old giant track in Ironwood, And when you come out of the kitchen, if you come out the kitchen and you go to the right and you go around that track a little bit, it was like a gate, somewhat like that gate and fence behind me. There's a big old long gate. Then there was, of course, an area where you could go through the gate. There's set a podium. A couple of officers were working at the podium, and they had this like thing going up over it, and you'd walk up under it, and it was a metal detector. Then you go through the door, you go outside, and it opened up into a big old giant area. And in that back area, they had trades and vocations, things like milling carpet, graphic arts, possibly auto mechanics, stuff like that, where you could go back there and learn the trade. And also, the main kitchen was back there. And so, Cornflake happened to work somewhere back there. So I guess, like I said, these Nazi lowriders, they see this guy, they see that he's hanging with the blacks. They begin plotting on him. They begin coming up with a plan to get this dude up off the yard, because they are not going to be on the yard programming with this dude, because then, of course, if word gets out later on, which it eventually would to some of their folks, then they would be considered no good for being on the yard and not taking flight on this dude, right? So one day in particular, Cornflake has went to work, and now he's coming off and he's getting off work somewhere maybe around 2:30, 3:30, So now when you come back from work exchange, you have to, now when you come back, you have to take your shirt off, take your pants off, strip down, so they can check and make sure you don't have any type of paraphernalia that could be considered dangerous, or maybe, stealing something from the kitchen like sugar, food, all types of stuff, something to make knives with or whatever. So you have to take your shirt off, bend over and cough, give your clothes to the officer working behind the podium. Then you come through the metal detector. Then you get dressed and you walk on out. So like I said, you got to put on your socks, all that type of stuff, with the exception of your boxers. And so as Cornflake has getting dressed and he's coming up out of here, he's putting his pants on, and the space is really not that big. It doesn't hold a whole lot of people. So a lot of times, you may have people throw on their pants or whatever and walk on out and just, continue getting dressed and this and that. So as Cornflake is coming out of the little gate and walking back onto the track, the main thing, you have a couple of Nazi lowriders all of a sudden push up on him, and beep boop bop, beep boop boop bop, beep boop bop. They get up off, they get up on him, bust him up, beep boop bop boom, lefts and rights with all they might. You know what I'm saying? And so the yard goes down. Now, when this happened, I happened to be maybe about 30 or 40 feet away. I was standing in front of the canteen, the store window, because they sell ice cream and soda and stuff, and by it being extremely hot, we was over there trying to get a soda, me and some of the homies. I can't remember exactly who I was. So the yard goes down. The COs run over there, and when the yard goes down, you have to sit down and stuff. So the COs run over there. They get the people that's fighting. I don't remember if they maced them or whatever, but at some point in time, they get them, and they start taking them to the program office. Now, I just so happened to maybe be sitting 10 or 15 feet in front of the program office. So now as they're walking and stuff and getting closer and closer, somebody that I'm sitting with say, "Oh man, that's the homie right there." Because now he's walking, like I say, he was trying to put his shirt on. So now his shirt is off and he's walking, they got him handcuffed. One of the homies asked him, "Hey man, what's up, homie? What's cracking?" He said, "Oh man, the white boys, they rushed me. The white boys, they rushed me." So they walk him into the program office. And if my memory serves me correct, they recalled the yard and everybody had to go back in. Possibly not. I'm not 100% sure about that, right? But I know, he did make the statement that the white boys rushed him. Now, of course, pretty much everybody who's been doing time, they already know what this is. This dude has been programming with the homies. He was a Crip, and so there's definitely going to have to be some retribution about that, right? So, like I said, he was getting off work somewhere around 2:30, 3 o'clock. We normally have to lock up maybe at 3:45 anyway, so they made everybody go in. So, they did what they did, I guess, sent those guys to the hole or whatever. And when they went as normal to do release for child, maybe around, maybe about 5 o'clock, I believe they let one building and 4 building go to child. Now, of course, everybody is on edge. It has gotten spreaded around, I'm sure, that the white dudes took off on this white Crip. So everybody's in the child hall, or at least the buildings 1 and the buildings 4. And then you had this real solid Crip man by the name of Shoot 'em Up. Shoot 'em Up was from Playboy Gangster, So all of a sudden, he stands up, and of course there had been words circulating amongst the homies and basically letting the blacks know that, we supposed to get off on these white dudes up in here for rushing a homie or whatever. So, but the dude shoot him up from Playboy Gangster. He stands up and says, "This is for the Crips," and boom, bop, beep, boom. He takes off on the white dude right in front of him. So of course everybody go to squabbing, beep, boop, bop, boop, bop, bop. Everybody go to fighting up in there. A riot ensues inside the chow hall. Now, a lot of times I hear people asking me in the comment section, hey, chill, man, have you ever heard of the whites and them Hispanics getting into it, or I don't understand why they have each other's back and so on and so forth. And I don't necessarily know about any alliances that they have, but they do program together on the same side. But I have never seen them come together, both races come together to fight the blacks. I did see a certain situation one time on the 2-yard where we had a standoff with the whites, and it was obvious that the Hispanics, excuse me, the Mexicans had their back, but it never got physical. But in that particular riot, when they started fighting up in there, one of the essays, he yelled, "Camaradas, on the wall, everybody on the wall." So basically he was telling his people, hey man, this don't have nothing to do with us. Put our backs on the wall, get up out of it, right? And so they continued to squab up in there, everybody up in there, beep, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop, boop, bop, bop, doing their thing, squabbing, throwing cups and all that old type of stuff. Now, in a situation like that, and too, when you're in this big old giant chow hall, the majority of the time, the officers, because this may be 1 or 2 officers when you come in at the door. It might be 1 or 2 officers. It might be another officer when you walk around. You walk up this long rail, then you turn around and you go to get your food at this window. You may have another officer standing right there, and it may be 2 or 3 officers in there directing people to sit down or, don't do this or don't do that. But for the most part, there's not a whole lot of officers in that chow hall. So, of course, when something like that breaks out, the first thing they do is get up out of there. They get up out of there, they run, they leave, they lock the door, and they call for backup. So, you never really know how long you might be up in there fighting. And so, of course, they got these heavy trays. And what's really more, because the trays are plastic, but of course they are a real sturdy plastic. But what's more dangerous than those plastic trays is they have these real hard plastic drinking cups. And it's somewhat almost like an insulated coffee mug. It's real thick, real hard. So you got people up in there throwing that. You got people with hot water, throwing hot water, and just all types of stuff. Of course, then you may have people up in there who already have weapons, anticipating that this riot is about to jump off. So it definitely is a scary situation. You up in there fighting, like I say, and you got these cups come flying past you, people running all behind you and stuff like that. So eventually, when they hit the alarm, I guess they finally gather up enough troops where they feel it's safe for them to now come into this chow hall and try to quell this situation, which they eventually come in there and they do. They get everything out of control. I also failed to mention you have in the chow hall, you have officers working. They have a elevated, somewhat of a gun tower in that chow hall as well, right? And so just so happened I was in building 2, so I didn't actually get up in there. I didn't actually happen to make it up in there because they released buildings 1 and building 4, right? And so eventually they end up taking a whole lot of people to the hole, especially if you happen to be from the Inland Empire area, whether you was from Riverside or San Bernardino, because of course the administration, they knew what was going on. They knew that these Nazi lowriders had took off on this Crip who was from IE. And so they took a lot of dudes if they could prove or had knowledge of them dudes being from the Inland Empire. A lot of those dudes went to the hole, And so also later on, I heard, unfortunately, man, the dude who had kicked the riot off, a real solid rider by the name, of Shoot 'em Up, he eventually passed away later on in another penitentiary, man. So rest in peace to Shoot 'em Up. Shoot 'em Up always used to hang with another dark-skinned dude, man. I couldn't remember. I had reached out to the homie Medley because Medley also has an extremely good memory, and so he filled me in on some of the details and stuff. And so yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, man, to Shoot 'em Up from Playboy Gangsters. Real solid individual, real rider. Hopefully, man, I'm gonna be able to get my boy on here, Medley, man. Medley is a real Inland Empire historian. He knows a whole lot about the history of Inland Empire. From what I hear, he's the founder of the California Gardens. Also, he did about, I don't know, 25, 26 years in prison. So he has a lot of knowledge, man, about things going on in prison, man. So if you guys want to, man, drop some comments in there. Try to encourage this dude to get him to come on here. We've been trying to get an interview, you know, so hopefully we'll get an interview soon. But yeah, that's Melly Mel. That's Melly from the Gardens. Anyway, you already know what it is, man. It's your boy, 16 to Life. Oh, and before I go, you guys definitely be sure to check out Street Professors, Ghetto Scholars, a show about hip hop, you know, old school hip hop, current hip hop. He gives you a lot of information, man. Anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.
I know you foreign to this life, but I like to introduce you. I'm so far from the no-Carlo lives you used to. Dudes who like to juice you, use you for fast food. Next time you meet a nigga like that, just trash dude. It keep you in a bad mood, cause he not worthy. Swear he fly in that played out AI jersey. You so beautiful and you so curvy. You should give me a try, why? Cause you deserve me. That's right, girl, you heard me. Better treat yourself. Quickly add me to your world before you cheat yourself. I'm trying to build your credit, girl, baby, and teach your wealth. It's okay, we all need some help. For real, let chill take you off that Section 8. Every Sunday drop bills on you like you the collection plate. The vibe is cool and the sex is great. Now call your man, make him your ex and tell that nigga to skate. He extra weight. If I can't be the man by your side you spend your whole week with, I'm satisfied being the only man that you creep with. The one you spend all night but never sleep with. That's right, I can be your best kept secret. If I can't be the man by your side you spend your whole week with, I'm satisfied being the only man that you creep with. The one you spend all night but never sleep with. That's right, I can be your best kept secret.